All right, today we're going to be writing linear equations, and we're going to be using two forms of the line. One is y equals mx plus b, which is slope-intercept form. So that will be one. The other is called point-slope form, and it looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is called point-slope form. And the m, in both cases, the m is the slope. So that tells us the steepness of the line and whether it's going up or down from left to right. And x1, y1 is a point on the line. All right, and I should have mentioned up here that the b represents the y-intercept. All right, so you'll be using one of these two equations. Now, not so much the standard form of the line. Standard form of the line is very helpful to us when we're graphing an equation and we want to find the x and y intercept. But when we're actually writing a linear equation, we'll use one of these two equations. So for our first example, we're going to write the slope-intercept form of the equation of each line given the slope and the y-intercept. So we're trying to put it into this form, y equals mx plus b. Remember, m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. Well, notice right here, you've got the pieces of the equation right here. So we have y equals, the slope is -1, so I'll have -1 times x. The y-intercept is 3. So we end up with y equals -x plus 3. We don't need to have the 1 showing there. We can just write it this way. Sorry about my strobing pen. I'm doing this video at school, and for some reason I've got this strobing pin here, kind of annoying. So go ahead and try the second problem. So pause the video, see if you can try it, and then check back for the answer. So here again, we already have the slope and the y-intercept. You actually just plug it into the formula. Y equals 2/5 x. Y-intercept is -2, so we have -2. And it honestly, truly doesn't get any easier than that, but it does get a little harder. So let's try to make it a little tougher. Here we have, we're still going to write the slope-intercept form of the equation, and we want it to have a slope of 3, and we want it to go through the point 2, 5. Now I know already that I'm going to have y equals mx, well m is 3, so 3x plus b. I don't know the y-intercept. I know it's not 5. Remember what the y-intercept is. You let x equal 0 and solve for y. Well, I don't know what it is. All I know is that the slope, 3, goes right here. So I have to now figure out my y-intercept. Well, I do know that this is a value for x and this is a value for y that makes my equation true. So what I can do is substitute in place of a y, I'm going to put a 5. In place of an x, I'm going to put a 2. And now I can solve for b. So I have 5 equals 6 plus b. So when we subtract 6 from each side, we get b equals -1. Now don't stop there because you're not done yet. You have to go back up to your equation you were asked to write. And now we know what b is. So we get y equals 3x minus 1. And that's my equation. So go ahead and pause it and see if you can try the next problem. All right, so let's give this one a try. If we start by saying we know the slope, so y equals 2/3 x plus b, and we don't know the y-intercept, but I do know that when x is 3, y is 0. So I'm going to substitute a 0 for y, a 3 for x, and if you want, you can put 3 over 1, These fractions cancel, and we're left with 0 equals 2 plus b. I subtract 2 on each side, and we get b equals -2. And then remember to go back to your equation. So we have y equals 2/3 x plus, or we can just say -2, because it would be plus a -2. That's how you write an equation of a line if you know the slope and a point that it passes through. All right, well, what about if you just know 2 points? So here we want to find the equation of the line. This time I'm not given the slope, but I have to figure it out. So remember, we have y equals mx plus b. And first I'm starting by finding the slope. So I'm going to do the change in my y values over the change in my x values. So I'll take -3 minus 1 over -4 minus 3, and I get -4 over -7, which is 4/7. So now I know the slope. Now actually I'm going to show you an example of using the other form of the line. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I know the slope. I know the slope is 4/7. What I don't know, I need to know a point on the line. So the x1 and the y1. And it doesn't matter which point you use. So I'm going to use the 3, 1 for my x1 and my y1. I could have used -4, -3 instead, but I'm choosing to use 3 and 1. So I'm going to have y minus y1, so that's y minus 1, equals 4/7 times x minus x1, which I'm using a 3. And now here's my equation of my line. Notice that I don't have to solve for b. I don't have to substitute anything else in. All I have to do is simplify this. So I'm going to distribute the 4/7, and it does make it a little harder since we have a fraction there. When you multiply 4/7 times 3, you might want to put a 3 over 1. You can multiply the numerators, so 4 times 3 is 12, so I get 12/7. The last thing I would need to do is add 1 to both sides. So I'm going to get 4/7 x. And if you do -12/7 plus 1, you can use your calculator if you need to, but remember I'm adding 7/7. And when I do that, I get -5/7. Now, you might look at this and say, well, that looked harder. It wasn't harder because of the formula I used. It was harder because of the fraction. So go ahead and try the next problem. And so pause it, try it, come back to it. All right, well, let's start by finding the slope. So I'm going to do 4 minus -1 over 4 minus -2. Remember, it doesn't matter which point you choose to start with, as long as you're consistent. Since I started with the 4 in the numerator, I have to start with the 4 in the denominator. I'm going to change subtraction to adding the opposite. And we get 5/6. Okay, we have another fraction here, but that's okay. So again, I can use either point. I'm going to use the 4, 4. So I'm going to have y minus 4 equals the slope times x minus 4. So I was using this as x1, y1. And then you just simplify it. So we have y minus 4 equals 5/6x. I can do a little canceling here. So we have 5 times 2, so we're going to have -10 over 3. And I want to add 4. You can use your calculator if you want to. I'm not going to, because I know that 4 is a whole number. If I want to put it into thirds, it's the same as 12/3. And if I add 12/3 to a -10/3, I end up with a +2/3. And there's my linear equation.